What's going on, guys? I'm back with another video, and today I'm going to be covering how to create a custom FV2 for your models. So the first thing you're going to want to do is grab FV tool from the GitHub page here. You can grab that just by going to the releases page here and download the zip file and unzip it somewhere. You may also want to grab FMDL Studio V2 and FCNP tool. They aren't strictly necessary for creating a custom FV2, but they do help with visualizing parts of it. So I'm going to be breaking down the FV2 format, starting with the more simple stuff and then moving on to the more complex stuff as we go along. When you start up FV tool, you'll have a screen like this. If you go to the drop-down box here that's beside target, you'll see that there are 4 different options, and each of these are for different things. So you have static data. That just means that these changes will always be applied when the FV2 is applied. Variable data, that means that these changes will be applied under certain conditions. Material parameters, these, if I add an entry here, it just lets you set the value for a material parameter, and then that value will be applied to the actual material when you apply the FV2. And external files are for files that are outside of the FV2, such as textures or FRDV files, sim files. That stuff can be applied to models through an FV2 as well. So we're going to start off by looking at the static data, specifically the show and hide mesh group entries. So I'm going to add 1 to both of these, and what you need to do is enter the name of a mesh group into these boxes, and that'll either hide or show that mesh group. And this is where FMDL Studio V2 comes in handy, because we can actually see the names of the mesh groups and what's inside them. So you'll see, if we look over here, that most of them are visible by default, but there are a couple that aren't. So if we look at this one, for example, we can find it in the hierarchy, and you see that it's the face part of the scarf. So that's hidden by default. If we want to show it with the FV2, we just copy the name of the mesh group and paste it into the show mesh group box. And then we can copy another one that is visible by default and paste it into the hide one. So let's do mesh CNT, that's the cap for the water bottle, and we'll paste that in there. One thing you do have to note when hiding mesh groups is that not all of them are able to be hidden through FV2s. Some of them have special names that can't be hidden by FV2s. For example, on this model, mesh root can't be hidden, body can't be hidden, walkman can't be hidden, arm can't be hidden, leg can't be hidden, and item can't be hidden. I believe all of the other ones can, but you do have to keep that in mind when you are trying to hide mesh groups through FV2s. So now I'm going to export this. I'll get into how to apply FV2s through Infinite Heaven later, but for now I'm just going to show you the result. Alright, so I'm here on Metal Gear now, and I'm going to open up Infinite Heaven, go to Player Settings, Appearance menu, and I'm going to change to the Scarf Fatigues, and then if I go into the Form Variation menu, it'll automatically apply that fova I made. And you can see that the scarf is visible now, and the cap on the water bottle is no longer visible. Next, let's look at texture swap entries. So I'm going to import one of the game's original FV2s for this because they already do a good job of showing examples. So I'm going to go into master, into the unpacked files. I'm going to go through assets, TPP, fova, chara, SNA, and we're going to scroll way down here, and let's import SNA0 main1 C01. So this is one of the fatigues camos. Now, what it's doing here is grabbing the material instance and then grabbing the specific texture from that material, and then it's going to apply whatever texture is specified here to that material in that specific texture slot. So let's look at FMDL Studio V2 here, and you'll see if we go to the legs here, one of these will, yeah, I think it's this one, tension leg L, is that the one? Yep, that's the one. So it's going in that, and then it's looking specifically for base text sRGB, so it's going to replace this texture with the texture that's specified here. And it's applying that same texture to all of these different materials. So you can specify the exact texture you want by going to the external files section, and this will allow you to put in whatever texture here that you want. So just for an example here, to mess with it, let's instead make it apply the specular map texture. And we can see that it's the same name as the other one, just without the C01 and with SRM instead of BSM. So we're going to do that. And now it's going to apply this texture to all of those materials instead. So I'm going to export this again, and I'll see you back in the game to see what happens. Alright, I'm back on Metal Gear, and we're just going to apply that form variation. And you can see now that it applied the SRM texture instead of the original texture to all of those materials that were specified in the FV2 file. We're going to look at bone attachment entries, and again we're going to want to use one of the game's original FV2 files for an example. So let's go ahead and hit import and navigate through the unpacked files. So assets, TPP, Fova, Chara, SNA, and let's use SNA0 face 0. So what this is doing is it's getting a link to another FMDL. In this case, it's Snake's head model, just the base one without the bandana and with the smallest horn size. And it's going to look for any bones that this model has in common with the body model that it's attaching it to, and it's going to use the bones from the body model instead of the head model's own face bones. And that's how attachments work with these. So to give you a better idea of what I mean here, I have both the Fatigue's body model here as well as Snake's head model imported into FMDL Studio. And so basically what goes on when a bone attachment happens is it's going to look for the bones in here that this model has and replace them with any bones with the same names that the body model has. So if we look here, the first bone that this has is Skell 002 chest. So we can also find that model inside the body model, and if we take its global transform here and apply it to the bone here, you can see that now the head is in the proper position on the body model. It's not actually moving the bone to the body model's position, but using the body's actual bones when it actually does it in-game. But for demonstration purposes, this shows you what's going on. So let's say we want to attach more models though. So let's add another entry here, so let's make this 2 instead. And we're gonna also attach the chicken hat just as an example. So for that, let's go into the external files, add 2 more entries here. One will be for the FMDL itself, the other one will be for the sim file. And I've already grabbed those files out of the base game and put them where they need to be, so I'm just going to navigate to them so I can copy their paths. So right here, this is for the chicken hat. So we're going to want to copy this path, add a leading forward slash, and replace all of the backslashes with forward slashes, because the game is very picky about this. Alright, and then we want to grab the whole name, including the extension, and put that in there. And then I'm also going to grab the sim files, so because you can apply sim files to attached FMDLs as well. So again, grab this path, leading slash, and replace all of these with forward slashes. And then get the name of the actual file and put it in there. Alright, let's go back to the static data, and for the FMDL we're going to want to choose the chicken hat FMDL. We don't have an FRDV, so we can set that to none and choose the sim file we added in there. And then from there we're going to export it. And when you're dealing with bone attachments, or just attachments in general for the player, you have to replace an existing FMDL. You can't use the Infinite Heaven feature. So I've already got this set up with the head attachment FV2, and we're going to replace it with our own custom one. And let's check it out in-game. Alright, I'm back on Metal Gear, and again we're going to use Infinite Heaven to change over to the scarf fatigues, and I change headgear to none. You'll see that now the chicken hat is also attached along with the normal head there. So that's how bone attachments work. Next up is CNP attachments, and they work very similarly to bone attachments, but they rely on a specified connection point. So you can see here that there's a text box that's where you specify the connection point. So you can find a connection point by navigating to the model that you want to attach something to. So I'm going to stick with the scarf fatigue since that's what we've been using. So let's navigate through there, scenes, and SNE 0, main 1. This time we want to look at the FCMP file, so you can use FCMP tool on that, and it'll spit out an XML. And then this will give us all of the connection points that this body model has. So in this specific case, I'm going to attach the night vision goggles, so I'm going to type in CNP_THM and find that. So we're going to want to copy this name here, paste it in here, and I'm going to go to the external files and add another entry. And again, I've already set up the folder with the night vision goggles in it, so I just need to copy the path here. So item THM, copy this path, and same as before, you have to replace the backslashes with forward slashes. Alright, that's in there. And then we're going to specify that as the FMDL. We don't have an FRDV and we don't have a sim. And we're going to export this. Now, to show you an example of what's actually happening with the CMPs. So I have Snake's model imported still here, and I also have the night vision goggles. So what the CMP does, I'm going to keep this file in the editor, yes, is it's going to look for a specific bone, so in this case it's scale 004 head, and then it's going to offset it by the values here. Now, one thing to note for comparing in Unity is that this x value will have to be put in negative, so if the value here was 1, for example, I'd want to put -1 in Unity, and if it was -1, I'd want to put +1 in Unity. But in this case, we don't have an x value, so we don't have to worry about that. So, if we look at the body model, and go to scale 004 head, and then open up the calculator, we're going to want to grab the global position here, copy that, and put it into the calculator, and then add the value that's listed in here to it. So enter that. So this is going to be our Y value. So if I go to the night vision goggles now, I'm going to put that in as its global position. And then we're going to do the same thing with the Z value. So copy the global position, even though in this case they're the same, but the global position is the one we care about. And add this to it. So that'll be the Z value. And you can see that now the night vision goggles are put on correctly. And typically you do CNP attachments when the model that you're attaching doesn't have bones or doesn't have the same bones as the model it's being attached to. The night vision goggles do have bones, but they aren't the same ones that the body model has, so it won't be able to connect through the bones. So that's why we have to do it this way. And now let's check it out in-game. Alright, and I'm back on Metal Gear once again, and this time, if we go to player settings, appearance, change over to the scarf fatigues, and then set the head to the default one. As you can see, the night vision goggles are now attached. Alright, and the last thing we need to look at is material parameter swapping. Now, this also falls under texture swap entries. As you see, they have a material parameter option here. So again, we're going to import one of the game's vanilla FV2s. We're actually going to import one of the camo ones again. So assets, TPP, Fova, Chara, SNA, and any of the camo ones are good. Alright, so we can add a material parameter entry by changing our target to the material parameter section and put a 1 in there. Now what you actually have to put in here, if we look at one of the meshes here and then scroll down, you can see all of the material parameters here. Now in this specific case we're going to be focusing on mat param index, which has to be done in a specific way. I believe for the other entries you don't have to do it in this way, but so this will be specifically for mat param index values. So it's 140 on this one, and if we want to take the parameter index from the gold model, which is 164, you would think that you would just put 164 in as the X value, but that's not how it works with FV2s. What you have to do is take the value you want to put in and bring up a calculator, put that value in there, then divide it by 255. And this will give you the value that you actually have to put in there. So you want that as our X value, and then just 0 for everything else. With the other values, I believe you would just put the actual number in there, but there are no examples of other values that I know of besides the parameter indices that actually get affected by vanilla FV2s. So anyway, once you've done that, what you want to do is put in mat param index underscore 0 as the parameter name, and we want to do this for every single one of these. Alright, and then we want to set the material parameter here and get rid of this texture entry. Alright, and that's done, and because we're no longer swapping the texture, I'm just going to get rid of the external file entry since we don't need it. And then from there, I'm going to export this, and we'll check it out in-game. And once again, I'm back in-game, and let's try out this FV2. So let's apply it, and there we go. We've turned the fatigues golden. So that's what the material parameter stuff does. Alright, and before we get into the variable section of FV2 data, I am going to show you how to apply Fovas with Infinite Heaven. One thing you have to keep in mind is that you can't do attachments to the player model this way. But for textures and showing and hiding meshes, you can do it this way. So what you need to do is have your snakebite file set up so that it points to the FPK for the outfit that you want to apply the Fova to. In this case, we're doing the fatigues with the scarf. And somewhere inside of the assets TPP folder inside the FPK folder, you're going to want to have your FV2 file. So I've put mine in Bob, and then I have two here, Goldify and Scarfface. So what you have to do to get these to apply in Infinite Heaven is outside, right next to the FPK folder, you're going to want to create a new text file and give this the same name as what the FPK has. So PL parts underscore normal underscore scarf, and then after this you want to put underscore model with a lowercase m and info with a capital I, and then change the txt to Lua. And then from here we're going to open this up, and we're going to have to do a little bit of basic Lua scripting. I promise it's not too complicated, so you should be able to do this even if you're not familiar with Lua at all. So what you have to do for this is put local this, and then equals, and then you want to put an opening curly bracket followed by a closing curly bracket, and then enter here, tab over once, and put in model description, lowercase m, capital D on description, and then equals, and you want to put two quotes, and inside these quotes is where you put the description for the model. So in this case I'm just putting scarf fatigues since that's the model, and you want to put a comma here. After this you want to type in fova table with a capital T on table, and then equals, and then squiggly bracket, and a closing squiggly bracket. And then inside here, immediately you're going to want to put more squiggly brackets. And inside of here, you want to put fova description, again with a capital D, equals, and this is where you describe what your fova does. So I'm going to call this first one Goldify, and then you put a comma and fova file, and in here you put the path inside of the FPK folder to your FV2, and you have to start it with a /, so it should be /assets TPP, and then in my case it's bob/goldify.fv2. And that's the first entry, and you can create as many entries as you want within the fova table. So if you have more fovas like I do, then you want to put a comma here after these squiggly brackets and paste another entry, and this one is going to be scarf face, and then just change the path here to scarfface.fv2. You can leave this comma here at the end, it doesn't actually matter, but I'm going to get rid of it just because I like it better that way. And then at the very bottom here, you want to put return this. And that's all you need to do. You can add as many entries to the table here as you want. And then after that, we just need to pack this up with MakeByte. And then we're going to install it with Snakebite and check it out in game. Alright, and we are back in game once again. And let's open up Infinite Heaven here. Go to the player settings menu, go to appearance menu, switch over to the scarf fatigues, and go to the form variation menu. And you can see that it automatically applied the first fova we made there, but if we go to the second entry in the menu, you can change to any other fovas that you added as well. You can change back and forth between these at any time. And that is how you apply fovas through Infinite Heaven. Alright, and now for variable data. Now, the first thing we're going to want to do for this is to head over to the Infinite Heaven Nexus page, go to Files, and download the US Soldier add-on here. And we want to download this because we can't test variable data on player models, it doesn't work. So we need an example we can work with, and that is the Mother Base soldiers. And we're going to create our own here, so we're going to be using this as an example that we can modify for our own purposes. So you're going to want to extract the zip file, then open up the MGSV file with WinRAR or 7-zip, and in your folder you've set up for Snakebite, you're going to want to extract these two folders. And from there, we'll have this set up. We're going to want to go into the game directory folder here, and there'll be a Lua file under mod body info and another Lua file under fova info. So I'm going to rename these to dd_soldier_test, this one in all capitals, the one that's in body info, and the one that's in fova info will be the same name, but all lowercase. Alright, and from there, we're going to want to head into the assets part of it, into TPP, and I'm going to delete all of these files since we won't be needing them. And then I'm going to create my own folder, which I'm just going to call Bob. Now from there we actually want to grab some files to work with, so I'm going to head into Master, Unpacked, Assets, TPP, Pack, Mission 2, Common, and we're going to grab miscom dd soldier_weight, and we're going to want to grab all three of those files, paste them in here, and I'm going to rename these to dd_soldier_test, and then just copy the name and paste it in for the other two. Alright, that's set up. now we can actually get to working on the Lua files here. So we're going to want to open up both of these. Now we've got them both open. I have a bunch of folders open apparently. Right, those can all go. Alright, and we're going to want to head back into where we pasted these files, and we're going to want to unpack the FPK, and we're also going to want to unpack the FPKD. First, we'll head into the FPKD folder, navigate through to get to the parts folder, and then into the Chara DDS folder, and we just needed the path to this file here. So first we're going to look at the file that's all in capitals. In our case, we're only going to have one variant of this model, so we're going to delete all of the entries except for the first one. We can change the description to DD Soldier Test. Now we need to paste the path to our parts file here, starting from assets, so can wipe out what's already here. Then change the backward slashes to forward slashes. And add the name of the file. Alright, that's set up properly now. Now we need to do the same thing, but with the path to the FPKD. So in this case, I'm not going to copy paste it because it's pretty simple. And we can copy paste the name of the FPK itself though. And then I'm going to change the body ID to DD_soldier_test_V00. So that file's all set up. Now let's head to the one with the lowercase. And again, we're only going to have a single entry, so delete all of these except for one, and do the same here. And then we can change this to DD_soldier_test_V00. I'm just going to change this to DD_soldier_test. And this will again be DD_soldier_test_V00. And then we can copy the path to the FPK from this file over to this part here. And I'm going to change this to just assets TPP Bob, and then DD_soldier_test.fv2 will be the name of the file. I realized I made a mistake in this file. I forgot to put _V00 at the end of this name, so make sure you do that. Alright, and these two files are now set up. Alright, and back here I'm going to delete the two XML files from here since we won't be needing them. And then I'm going to go inside the FPK here, go to Assets TPP, create a new folder called Bob in my case. And now we need to grab the FV2 we're going to be working with. So I'm going to head into Master, Unpacked, Assets, TPP, Fova, Chara, DDS, and scroll down a bit here. We're going to grab DDS3 main 0 V00. So copy that, paste it in our folder here, and I'm going to rename it to DD_soldier_test_V00. And we're going to be modifying this in a little bit, so I'm going to grab another file for that purpose. So we're going to head back to assets TPP, go to Chara, and DDS, scenes, scroll down here a little bit, and I'm going to grab DDS3 equip head3.fmdl. So go back here, back to TPP, Chara, DDS scenes, and we're going to paste it in here, and we'll be using that in a little bit. And now let's take a look at the FV2 we copied and pasted and see what's actually going on with it. So as we can see, there's some static data entries here that are just hiding and showing mesh groups, but we're more interested in the variable data. So we can see that it has 5 entries, and you can open these entries with the drop-down box here and check out what's actually going on in each of them. So you'll notice here that they're pretty similar to the static data entries, but they have a type enum here and they have multiple entries. So what is this actually doing? So basically, in the case of most types, what it's doing is it's going to choose randomly one of these entries and apply it. So it'll be showing these mesh groups, and any of the other ones won't be shown. So for example here, this one is showing mesh shirt on, mesh hand 3, and this is just a blank entry. It uses 0 for those. So if we look at the model, it's turning on this mesh group as well as the one that covers these 2 meshes, and it won't be showing this 9F mesh group, which I actually don't see in this model, so that might be either my dictionary isn't up to date or it doesn't exist. And it also won't be showing these shirt off ones, the glove ones that it's choosing there, and hand 3. So that one actually will be shown because it's part of that one if it chose that one. And if we go to another entry, again, it's going to choose to apply either this texture that's selected here, or it's going to apply this texture. It's going to do that randomly. Here, again, it's going to choose between one of these mesh groups. So it's either going to choose that, or that. Now when we get down to this entry, things get a little bit more complicated. This has a type of 64, which is a special enumerator value for the skin color. This won't be chosen randomly. This will be chosen based on actual data from the soldier. And there are multiple of these special entries if you go to the wiki page for FV2 and scroll down and go to type enums. You'll have a list of where everything is used. Most of these don't matter. This is just generally how the game uses them, but when you scroll down and see these ones with an asterisk next to them, these ones actually are important and are based on other data, such as the soldier data itself, or something like applying a helmet based on that data. These are not randomly chosen. So 64 is for skin color, 6E for eye color, C8 for hats, and so on and so forth. You can look at this list and get the idea of what they're doing. So if we scroll down to the 4th entry here, you can see that this one is the one that does eye color. So now let's add our own entry to this. So we're going to change this from 5 to 6. we're going to go down to this, and we need a type for it, so 4 is the one that's used there, so let's make this 5 because that's not in use. We're going to create 2 entries, and it will randomly choose one of these, and we're going to do a CNP attachment. Now we need to actually add the model, so we're going to go to External Files, change this to 14, and then we need to grab that model that we copied and pasted earlier. Chara, DDS scenes. Let's go ahead and copy this. Change it to forward slashes. And then add the FMDL itself. Here we go. Now let's head back to variable data, back to the entry we added, and this one will be using CMP_I. Choose the hat there. These can both be none. This one we're putting in 0 since it'll either choose to have the hat or it won't. And then we're going to just export this. And there we go. So now we just need to pack this with MakeByte. And we will test it out in-game. Alright, and we are back in-game once again. We're going to want to open up Infinite Heaven, go to the Mother Base menu, and change DD suit to the last entry, which will be the one we added. And now if we go to Mother Base, we'll be able to see if our FV2 worked. Alright, and we're back on Mother Base. You can see this guy here does not have the beret on. Neither does this guy. Let's see if we can find someone that does have it on. And there we go. That guy up there has a beret on. As well as this guy here. So that's the gist of how variable data in FV2s work. I hope this video helped if you wanted to make your own custom form variations, and I will see you guys in another video.